Discover timeless principles for success, growth, and change. Let these powerful words from Dr. Myles Munroe guide you into purpose, vision, and transformation. This is more than a message. It's a journey for your life.
Too many of us have been conditioned to believe that being accessible at all times, being present for everyone's demand, somehow defines who we are. But I stand here to remind you today, your worth is not measured by how available you are, but by the value you bring to the world. You see, availability is about presence, but value is about purpose. It is not how often people can reach you that defines your significance. It is what happens when they do. When you understand this principle, you will stop cheapening yourself by being everywhere for everyone, and instead, you will start guarding your gift, refining your potential, and releasing your value in places where it truly matters. For it is your value that elevates you, your value that sets you apart, and your value that determines how the world remembers your name. Availability is not identity. Your true identity lies in your value. This truth is one of the most liberating realizations you can ever embrace in life. Too often, people equate their worth with how frequently they can be present for others, how accessible they are, and how much they can please or serve at the expense of themselves. Society often conditions us to believe that if we are always available, if we never say no, if we are constantly present whenever someone calls, then we are valuable. But this is a trap that keeps people enslaved to approval, drained of energy, and living beneath their true potential. Availability may make you convenient, but it does not make you valuable. True identity is never found in convenience. It is found in the essence of who you are and the gifts you carry within. Consider the difference between something common and something precious. Water is available everywhere, and though it is necessary for survival, its abundance means people often take it for granted. On the other hand, diamonds are scarce. They are not lying around on every street corner. Their rarity and refinement give them value. In the same way, when you define yourself by your availability, you reduce yourself to the ordinary. But when you begin to operate from your value, your unique talents, your cultivated wisdom, your distinct contribution, you elevate yourself to the level of significance. People don't remember you because you were always there. They remember you because when you showed up, you brought something that changed the atmosphere. When a person ties identity to availability, they become a slave to the demands of others. They say yes to everything, they stretch themselves thin, and they live exhausted, frustrated, and resentful. The danger is that people begin to confuse kindness with weakness, generosity with unlimited access, and presence with dependence. But your life was not given to you to be drained by the expectations of others. Your life was given to you to release your purpose, to maximize your potential, and to create impact through your value. To do that, you must know who you are, and that knowledge cannot be found in how available you are to others. It must be found in the value you carry within. Identity is the seed of destiny. If you believe your worth is in your availability, you will constantly overextend yourself and under-deliver on your purpose. But if you believe your worth is in your value, you will protect your time, nurture your gift, and pour your energy into what multiplies impact rather than what merely fills space. There is a difference between being busy and being productive. Busy people are always available, always saying yes, always running, but they rarely accomplish what truly matters. Productive people understand that their worth lies in their value, so they prioritize their focus. They discipline their energy, and they ensure that when they show up, they bring transformation. Think of the greatest leaders, thinkers, and innovators in history. They were not always available to everyone at every moment. They were not defined by how often they could be reached. Instead, they were defined by the ideas, the inventions, the principles, and the wisdom they released into the world. Their value defined them, not their accessibility. If you want to live a life of significance, you must make that same shift. Stop believing that being everywhere for everyone makes you important. Start believing that bringing value, even in limited moments, makes you unforgettable. This shift requires courage, because many people will not understand at first. They will accuse you of being distant, arrogant, or unavailable. But the truth is, by limiting your availability, you are amplifying your value. You are focusing your energy where it matters most. You are ensuring that your identity is not consumed by constant demands, but instead expressed through purposeful contribution. When people finally do have access to you, they will experience the depth of your value, and that will be far greater than constant presence without substance. Your worth has always been in your value, not in your availability. You were designed with unique gifts, with a distinct calling, with a purpose that no one else can fulfill in the way you can. The world does not need another person who is simply accessible. It needs a person who is impactful. The world does not celebrate those who were always present in every conversation. It celebrates those who showed up with answers, solutions, ideas, and inspiration that changed lives. Stop reducing your worth to convenience. Start elevating your worth through the value you cultivate and the difference you make. The day you stop defining yourself by your availability is the day you begin living from your true identity. And when you live from that place, your presence will carry weight, your contribution will inspire change, and your life will echo far beyond the moments of your availability. True identity is not found in being everywhere. It is found in bringing something that only you can give. That is your value. That is your worth. And that is what the world is waiting for. Value is cultivated through purpose, growth, and contribution. It does not come by chance, and it is not something people can hand to you. Value is something you build, nurture, and protect within yourself. Many people spend their lives chasing approval, recognition, or status, thinking these things will define their worth. But true worth is rooted in the value you bring to the table, and that value must be intentionally developed. Just like a seed does not become a tree overnight, your value grows through the process of purpose, growth, and contribution. If you neglect these three pillars, you risk living a life that looks busy but lacks depth, presence without impact, and activity without legacy. Purpose is the foundation of value. Without purpose, you may succeed temporarily, but you will lack fulfillment and direction. Purpose gives meaning to your actions and clarity to your decisions. When you live on purpose, you stop asking what the world can give you and start asking what you were born to give the world. That shift is powerful because purpose unlocks value. A chair has value because it was designed to carry weight. A pen has value because it was designed to write. In the same way, you have value because you were designed with a purpose. But here's the truth. Many people never discover their purpose because they confuse activity with destiny. They run after every opportunity. They say yes to every demand. They allow life to push them instead of living by design. If you want to cultivate true value, you must identify your purpose, embrace it fully, and let it guide your choices. Growth is the process that multiplies value. Purpose may reveal your potential, but growth brings it to maturity. A diamond is not valuable in its raw form. It becomes valuable when it is cut, refined, and polished. In the same way, your talents and gifts may exist within you, but they require growth. Through discipline, learning, consistency, and perseverance, before they shine as true value, many people stop at talent, and that is why they remain average. Talent may open a door, but growth keeps you in the room. Growth is uncomfortable because it demands sacrifice, humility, and resilience. It means choosing long-term development over short-term pleasure. It means embracing failure not as defeat, but as a lesson. It means stretching beyond your comfort zone and refusing to remain stagnant. Every time you grow, you increase your value, And every time you resist growth, you cheapen what you were created to become. Contribution is the expression of value. What use is a gift that remains hidden? What good is potential if it never serves others? Value is not proven in isolation. It is revealed in how it benefits people, communities, and generations. A fruit tree is valuable not because it stands tall, but because it produces fruit that others can eat. Your value is seen not in what you keep, but in what you give. Contribution does not mean giving everything away or being constantly available. It means releasing your best in ways that transform, inspire, and uplift others. Contribution creates legacy because it ensures that your value continues to echo even after your presence is gone. That is why the greatest leaders and thinkers are remembered not for how much they kept, but for how much they contributed. They poured out their wisdom, their inventions, their teachings, and their lives into others, and that contribution became their value in the eyes of history. The combination of purpose, growth, and contribution creates unshakable value. Purpose gives you direction, growth gives you strength, and contribution gives you significance. Together, they form the foundation of a life that cannot be ignored. You no longer live trying to prove yourself to others because your value speaks for itself. You no longer fear rejection because you know your worth is rooted in something deeper than approval. You no longer exhaust yourself trying to be everywhere because you know that your impact is not in your availability, but in your cultivated value. This path is not easy, but it is necessary if you want to rise above the ordinary. It requires discipline to pursue purpose when distractions surround you. It requires courage to grow when comfort calls you back to mediocrity. It requires generosity to contribute when selfishness tempts you to withhold. Yet every step you take on this path increases your value, and with increased value comes greater influence, greater respect, and greater fulfillment. People will begin to notice not because you are always present, but because when you are present, you bring something rare, something refined, something that truly matters. Your value is not an accident, it is cultivated. It is built through purpose that gives you direction, growth that shapes your potential, and contribution that multiplies your impact. The more you nurture these pillars, the more powerful your life becomes. Do not waste yourself on chasing attention or trying to prove your worth through constant availability. Instead, invest yourself in building value that the world cannot ignore. Because when your life radiates purpose, reflects growth, and releases contribution, your worth becomes undeniable. And that is the kind of worth that outlives you. The kind of worth that leaves a mark on generations. The kind of worth that defines a life well lived. Being constantly available often dilutes your uniqueness. When you are always accessible to everyone, at every moment, you begin to lose the essence of what makes you special. Human beings were not designed to be endless resources of time and energy. When you make yourself constantly available, you risk being taken for granted, undervalued, and overlooked. The truth is, people rarely appreciate what they can get too easily. When something is always present, always within reach, it becomes ordinary in their eyes. No matter how extraordinary it actually is, your uniqueness is precious, and to preserve it, you must learn the discipline of selective availability. Think about the difference between the sun and the streetlight. The streetlight is always there, shining whether or not anyone cares to notice it. Because of its constant presence, it rarely draws attention or inspires awe. The sun, on the other hand, rises and sets. Its appearance is consistent but limited. It is not always visible, and its absence makes people long for its return. When the sun rises, its presence is felt. It transforms the environment. It gives light and warmth, and people appreciate it precisely because it is not always visible. The same principle applies to your life. If you are always present, always available, your uniqueness fades into the background. But when you guard your presence and choose wisely when to show up, you increase your impact and preserve your value. Constant availability often stems from the fear of rejection or the need for validation. Many people believe that if they are always there for others, they will be loved, respected, or remembered. But the opposite is often true. The more available you are, the less people value your presence. They begin to expect you to depend on you without gratitude and to assume that your time is endless. Before long, you are drained, unappreciated, and invisible in the very places you tried so hard to be seen. Uniqueness thrives in boundaries, not in constant exposure. It is when you create space, when you establish limits, when you learn to say no, that your yes begins to carry weight. Imagine a rare jewel displayed everywhere, on every corner of the street. It would no longer be considered rare. Its value would drop, and people would treat it as common. But place that jewel in a secure case, bring it out only at the right time, and suddenly it commands attention and respect. Your life works the same way. When you are too accessible, your uniqueness feels ordinary. But when you guard your time, when you choose moments of presence with intention, your impact multiplies. People recognize your uniqueness not because they see you everywhere, but because when they do see you, they encounter something unforgettable. This principle also applies to relationships, whether personal or professional. When you are constantly available to someone, they begin to lose respect for your presence. They may even begin to exploit your availability, draining your energy without giving back. In the workplace, if you are always the one to say yes, always the one to take on extra work, your contributions are overlooked. People start to see you as a resource rather than as a person of value. In personal relationships, if you are always accessible, others may assume you have no boundaries, no priorities, and no uniqueness of your own. But when you learn to balance availability with purpose, people begin to cherish the moments they have with you. They begin to listen more closely, to value your words, and to respect your time. Being constantly available is not generosity, it is self-sabotage. True generosity is measured not by how much time you give, but by the quality of the value you bring when you do give. When you learn to preserve your uniqueness, you become more impactful. People begin to anticipate your presence instead of taking it for granted. Your influence deepens because your words and actions are not diluted by overexposure. Scarcity creates respect, and when you wisely manage your availability, you protect your uniqueness from being wasted. There is also a deeper spiritual principle here. Every great leader, thinker, or innovator understood the importance of separation. They took time away to reflect, to grow, to cultivate their gift. They were not constantly available to the crowds. They withdrew to strengthen themselves so that when they reappeared, they brought wisdom, strength, and solutions. It is in the moments of hidden growth that uniqueness is refined. Constant exposure robs you of that process. If you never step away, if you never guard your time, you risk offering people a watered down version of yourself instead of the powerful value you are meant to carry. You are not meant to be everywhere, for everyone, all the time. You are meant to bring your unique gift in moments that truly matter. The world does not need your constant presence. It needs your authentic value. Protect your uniqueness by limiting your availability. Say no when you need to. Create boundaries that preserve your energy and choose to show up where your presence makes the greatest difference. In doing so, you will not dilute your uniqueness. You will magnify it. You will no longer be seen as ordinary, but as someone rare, someone intentional, someone who brings meaning wherever they go. That is how your uniqueness shines, not in constant exposure, but in purposeful presence. Guarding your time protects and increases your value. Time is the most precious resource you have, more valuable than money, possessions, or recognition, because once it is spent, it can never be reclaimed. Many people live as though their time is unlimited, giving it away freely to every request, every distraction, and every demand placed upon them. The danger is that when you treat your time as cheap, others will treat it the same way. But when you learn to guard your time, you send a message, not only to others, but also to yourself, that your life has value, your purpose has significance, and your energy is not to be wasted. By protecting your time, you increase the value of what you bring to the world. Time and value are inseparable. Every moment you spend is an investment, and the returns depend on where you place it. If you invest your time in meaningless distractions, shallow conversations, and unproductive habits, you will see little growth in your life. But if you invest your time in developing your purpose, building your skills, nurturing your relationships, and contributing to meaningful work, your value multiplies. Guarding your time is not about being selfish, it is about being wise. It is about understanding that your value is directly connected to how you use your hours, your days, and ultimately your life. Consider the example of a professional athlete. Their value on the field is not just the result of natural talent, but of disciplined time management. They guard their training hours, their rest, their nutrition, and their focus. They do not make themselves available to everything because they understand that distractions dilute performance. In the same way, when you guard your time, you preserve your strength and channel it into what enhances your value. Without that discipline, even the most gifted individuals become ordinary. It is not enough to have potential, you must protect the time needed to cultivate it. Guarding your time also requires the courage to say no. This is one of the hardest lessons for people to learn because we fear disappointing others. We worry that if we say no, we will lose opportunities, relationships, or approval. But every time you say yes to something unimportant, you are saying no to something significant. Every time you give your time away without intention, you rob yourself of the chance to invest in what truly matters. Saying no is not rejection, it is redirection. It is choosing to value your time enough to align it with your purpose. When you begin to make this shift, you will find that your value rises because your presence becomes meaningful instead of scattered. The truth is, people respect boundaries. At first, they may resist, especially if they are used to having unlimited access to you. But over time, they will learn to value your presence because it is no longer something they can take for granted. By guarding your time, you teach others how to treat you. If you are always available, you communicate that your time is not valuable. But when you protect it, you communicate that what you bring is precious and worth respecting. People honor what is scarce, and your time, when guarded, becomes a treasure rather than a convenience. Another dimension of guarding your time is recognizing the difference between activity and productivity. Many people fill their schedules with business, mistaking motion for progress. But not every activity adds value, and not every demand deserves your attention. Guarding your time means evaluating what truly moves you toward your goals and what merely drains you. It means being intentional about how you spend your energy and refusing to allow distractions to consume your focus. When you master this principle, you begin to achieve more with less effort because your time is directed with precision instead of scattered without thought. There is also a spiritual aspect to guarding your time. Your life is a gift, and the hours you have been given are not accidents. Every day carries the potential for impact, but only if you treat it as sacred. Wasting time is wasting purpose. Great leaders throughout history understood this. They withdrew from the noise. They carved out time for reflection, learning, and growth, and they prioritized what aligned with their mission. If they had made themselves constantly available, their greatness would have been diluted. It was their ability to guard their time that allowed them to release their value into the world with power. Guarding your time is ultimately about self-respect. It is about believing that your life matters enough to be intentional. It is about refusing to let others dictate how you spend your days, and instead choosing to align your time with your values, your goals, and your purpose. The more you guard your time, the more valuable you become, because you are channeling your energy into what multiplies your worth. And as your value increases, so does the impact you make on the lives around you. So do not waste your days trying to please everyone or prove yourself through constant availability. Protect your time. Choose carefully where you invest your energy. Build boundaries that preserve your focus and nurture your growth. Because when you guard your time, you not only protect your value, you increase it. You become a person whose presence carries weight, whose contributions inspire change, and whose life leaves a legacy that cannot be erased. Time is your most valuable asset. Guard it well, and it will guard your worth. People respect what is scarce, not what is always accessible. Human nature has an undeniable tendency to place higher value on things that are rare, limited, or difficult to obtain. When something is everywhere, when it is easily available, people often overlook it, dismiss it, or take it for granted. But when something is scarce, people pay attention, they lean in, and they honor it more deeply. This principle is not only true in economics or relationships, but also in life itself. If you want your worth to be recognized, you must understand that making yourself constantly available diminishes respect, while guarding your presence elevates your value. Consider precious metals such as gold or platinum. They are valuable not simply because they are beautiful, but because they are rare. If gold was scattered on every sidewalk, it would lose its worth overnight. The same is true of your time, your presence, and your gifts. When you spread yourself too thin and make yourself constantly accessible, people stop appreciating you. They begin to see you as common, ordinary, replaceable. But when you wisely steward your availability, when you show up with purpose and intentionality, your presence becomes like gold. It is sought after, respected, and treasured. This principle is also visible in relationships. When one person is always available, always answering calls instantly, always dropping everything to accommodate others, they are often undervalued. The other party begins to assume that their time is limitless and that they will always be there, regardless of how they are treated. On the other hand, when someone values themselves enough to set boundaries, to say no when necessary, and to choose carefully where they invest their time, others begin to respect them more. Scarcity creates respect because it communicates value. If you are not always accessible, people begin to treasure the moments they do have with you. The same idea applies to leadership. A leader who is constantly available to every minor issue quickly loses authority because their presence is overexposed. But a leader who reserves their presence for significant moments, moments of vision, moments of decision, moments of direction, creates an atmosphere of respect. When that leader speaks, people listen attentively because they know those words carry weight. The scarcity of their availability does not make them distant, it makes them impactful. It shows that they are not wasting energy on every demand, but are instead channeling their presence into what truly matters. Scarcity also fuels desire. Think about limited edition products or rare events. People line up for hours, sometimes days, to get access to something that is available for a short time. They are willing to pay more, wait longer, and fight harder because scarcity increases perceived worth. The same principle applies to you. If you are always available, people may appreciate you at first, but eventually you will blend into the background. But if you discipline yourself to appear with purpose, to offer your value selectively, people will lean in when you show up. They will recognize that what you bring is not ordinary, and they will treat it with honor. Now, this does not mean becoming arrogant or inaccessible. Scarcity must be balanced with purpose. If you withhold your presence entirely, people may see you as detached. The key is not to vanish, but to be intentional. Make your presence meaningful, not constant. Be available in moments where your impact can be greatest, and guard yourself from being consumed by every small demand. This creates a rhythm of scarcity and presence that deepens respect and magnifies your value. There is also a personal dimension to this truth. When you make yourself constantly available, you not only lose the respect of others, you also lose respect for yourself. You begin to feel drained, invisible, and unappreciated. But when you limit your availability, you send a message to yourself that your life matters, that your energy is valuable, and that you are not to be wasted on meaningless distractions. This builds self-respect, which in turn radiates outward and commands respect from others. People respond to how you treat yourself. If you honor your time and presence, they will too. Look at history, and you will see that the people most respected and remembered were not those who were everywhere, pleasing everyone, but those who were scarce, focused, and intentional. Great thinkers, leaders, and innovators reserved their energy for their work, their growth, and their purpose. They did not scatter themselves across every demand. They understood that scarcity increases value, and they lived in a way that made their presence meaningful. When they appeared, people listened. When they contributed, it mattered. You must embrace this principle if you want to live a life of significance. Do not be afraid to be scarce. Do not feel guilty for setting boundaries. Do not think that constant availability is the path to respect. It is not. Respect is earned when you make your presence meaningful. Scarcity is not about being absent. It is about being intentional. When you practice it, you will find that people treasure your presence, value your words, and respect your time far more than when you were always accessible. The truth is, people respect what is scarce. Your task is to live in such a way that your presence is not diluted by overexposure, but magnified by purpose. Make yourself scarce not by withdrawing aimlessly, but by choosing to appear with intention. This will not only increase the respect of others, but will also elevate your own sense of worth. And in the end, you will realize that scarcity is not loss, it is power. It is the power to be remembered, to be valued, and to live with dignity and impact. Your worth is revealed when your value impacts lives, not when your presence fills space. Too many people believe that simply being there, being physically present, or showing up in every conversation somehow defines their importance. But the reality is, true worth is not measured by how many places you appear or how many rooms you occupy. It is measured by the difference you make when you are there. Presence without impact is emptiness. Presence with value is legacy. Your life was never meant to be about filling space. It was meant to be about transforming it. When you enter a room, what happens? Do people simply notice that you showed up, or do they feel the weight of your presence because you bring value? There is a vast difference between being seen and being significant. A chair in a room is seen, but it is not significant unless it carries weight. In the same way, you can fill spaces all your life and still leave no mark, or you can decide to live in such a way that wherever you show up, your value brings change, encouragement, inspiration, and solutions. That is where your true worth lies, not in how often you appear, but in the impact of your contribution. The greatest lives are remembered not for their constant presence, but for their meaningful impact. Think about figures like Martin Luther King Jr., Mother Teresa, or Nelson Mandela. They were not everywhere, but where they were, their value shaped history. Their worth was not defined by availability. It was defined by how their values, their convictions, and their actions impacted lives. This is the principle you must embrace. Your presence alone will not make you unforgettable, but your value expressed through impact will ensure your name echoes long after you are gone. Impact begins when you understand your gift and choose to use it with purpose. Everyone carries something unique within them. A talent, an idea, a strength, a story, or a perspective that has the potential to inspire and uplift others. But if you simply exist, blending into the background, never releasing your value, you cheat the world of what you were created to give. Filling space is easy, impact requires intention. It means asking yourself, not just, was I there? But, what difference did I make by being there? That question separates those who live with purpose from those who drift without direction. It is possible to be in many places yet remain invisible. People may acknowledge your presence, but they will not remember you unless your value touched their lives. On the other hand, you may be present in fewer places, but if your words, actions, and contributions bring encouragement, clarity, or transformation, people will carry you in their hearts forever. Worth is tied to memory, and memory is shaped by impact. No one recalls every face they saw in a crowd, but they never forget the one who said something that changed their perspective, gave them hope, or helped them believe again. Your worth grows as your impact deepens. Every time you use your value to serve others, to add meaning, to uplift, you expand your influence. People begin to seek you not because you are always available, but because they know when you show up, something shifts. You are no longer ordinary, you become essential. Your presence fills more than space. It fills a need, it fills a void, it fills a hunger for encouragement, wisdom, or guidance. That is what makes you invaluable. It is important to note that impact does not always mean grand gestures or world-changing movements. Sometimes your greatest value is revealed in simple acts, listening when no one else will, speaking a kind word when someone is hurting, or sharing wisdom that lights a path for someone in confusion. Small impacts multiplied over time create legacies just as powerful as great acts. The point is not how big the action is, but whether it carries value that improves lives.
We appreciate you joining us today. May the wisdom you've heard shape your vision, strengthen your faith, and lead you toward lasting success.